Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Mutual Aid Program webinar series sponsored by American Friends Service Committee's Michigan Criminal Justice Program and the Michigan Collaborative to End Mass Incarceration. My name is Daniel Jones. I am the project coordinator for my SEMI, and I will also be your moderator for today's webinar. If at any time during our webinar you have questions, please utilize the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to provide answers. This is the second installment in a series of 9 webinars that will span from now through July 2021. They are scheduled every third Wednesday of the month at 5 p.m., and I encourage you to join us. Tonight's webinar is about coping with stress during the holidays, and as someone who was formerly incarcerated, I was sentenced to life without parole and served 23 years for harms that I caused at the age of 16 inside the Michigan Department of Corrections. I struggled with seeing my family, my mother specifically, who getting patted down and searched by corrections officers whenever she visited me for Thanksgiving or Christmas or any holidays. But I know there are people who will be more than willing and happy to endure that pat down right now just to visit their loved ones during the holidays. So if you are someone who has a loved one currently incarcerated and is struggling with stress right now, or is just someone who struggles with stress during the holiday season, or is someone who helps other people cope with stress during the holidays, we welcome you into this space and hope this helps. This webinar series is hosted by Angela Amison, who is American Friends Service Committee's Mutual Aid Coordinator. Angela has a bachelor's degree in behavioral science from the University of Michigan and also a master's degree in management from Walsh College. She is an Air Force veteran with over 8 years of federal service, with direct experience in health and human services, law enforcement, Michigan legislative initiatives, and an array of social justice issues. Please welcome Ms. Angela Amison. We also have with us tonight someone who I am honored to know and introduce, Dr. Carrie Hatcher-Kay. Carrie is a licensed clinical psychologist who earned her doctorate from the University of Michigan and has expertise in integrating body-mind therapies to address trauma, anxiety, and depression. Carrie uses teachings from neurobiology, mindfulness-based approaches, and ancient wisdom traditions to help clients, supervisees, and community groups shift limiting beliefs, habits, and relational patterns. In her personal, professional, and community work, she is committed to growing awareness that addressing systemic racism is inseparable from healing work, no matter an individual's or community's racial identity. Her practice, leadership, and service is founded in affirming individuals, families, and communities' inherent wisdom, resources, and strengths. Please welcome Dr. Carrie Hatcher-Kay. And at this time, we like to help everyone settle into this space by doing a grounding exercise led by our guest, Ms. Carrie Hatcher-Kay, who at this time I will pass it to. Carrie.
Hey, Danny. Can you let me share my screen? It says unable to start your video.
Let me see.
Good evening, everybody.
How about now?
Yeah, there we go. Hey, everybody, welcome. And I am, Danny, should I go ahead and share my screen now too?
I thought you were going to do the grounding exercise for everyone. Do you need to share your screen for that?
Yes, I want to go back to, because I think it, let's see. All righty, we'll just do the grounding for right now. Okay, good people. Hi, my name is Carrie, and I want to invite all of us to land into this space and into this hour by using our 5 senses. So I want to invite you to look around the room and see if you can find 5 blue things. That means you might need to move your neck, your back, your body. You name them out loud, you can whisper them to yourself. I myself see 3, 4, 5 with that pillow over there. Okay, very good. Now I want you to look for 4 things you can touch, and not just look for them, but touch them. So I'm going to say out loud, 1 chair, blanket, my sweater, my computer. Everybody got 4? Now I want you to look around the room. Oh, wait, we forgot to do a really fun thing to start with, which is to check, like, how grounded are you? So this is a grounding exercise to get us here. And unless it's kind of fun to do an assessment before and after. So I'm going to do this midway. I want to invite you to check how much you feel here. So that means scan your body, head to toe, scan the energy around you, scan your thoughts, your emotions, back to your body. And if 0 is I am here, I am firmly planted in my body, my mind, my thoughts, my feelings. And 10 is I am like out of it, out of my body, out of my mind. Just see where you are. Any number you say is totally good. Okay. So got your number. We're gonna go back to the next few exercises, and we'll check in again. So we've done 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch. Now 3 things you can hear. Let your ears, just let the sounds kind of come to you rather than putting out an effort to reach for the sounds. It's kind of funny because you might find that actually silence is one of those sounds. And I want to invite you to see if you can taste 2 things. No, excuse me. It's to smell 2 things. We'll get to taste as the last one. So I'm going to smell my scarf here. Water cup. Smelling water. And number 1, you can taste 1 thing. It might just be your own breath. All right, that's great. So once you just check that scan again, 10 down to 0, how grounded do you feel?
Thank you, Carrie.
You know, it grounds me just to see your faces. When you both just popped on the screen, that was really different when I see you.
Likewise. And thank you for grounding us in this space and bringing us centered. And thank you all for participating. I now like to pass it over to Angela, who will talk a bit about the mutual aid program. Angela.
Thank you, Danny, and especially thank you, Carrie. I feel really grounded. But the AFSC Mutual Aid Program is a program that I am the coordinator of, and it is designed to help folks who have done time and use drugs. And so my mutual aid program consists of like the traditional things with like helping with participants to evaluate and connect to services for education, jobs, housing, even accessing like state medical benefits and Social Security benefits. But what is really unique about AFSC and our program is that we're based out of harm reduction. And so I want to take a little bit of the time to really get everyone to understand what harm reduction is. And so harm reduction is really a system of helping that recognizes the history and trauma in the whole person. It is a system that is built to move us from the carceral systems of like punishment and incarceration and really move to a system of healing and empowerment where we know that no matter what the situation someone is going through, that we do not label and we do not identify people through chaotic drug use or through difficult mental health situations, and also empowering those who engage in sex work. So with that, we believe that all people have an innate right to their personhood. We believe that people really do know what is best for them and how to keep themselves safe. And so our program will never move someone to necessarily abstinence unless that is something that they choose to do. But we also recognize that there are safer ways of doing everything, including drugs. And so in this relationship that I have with participants in the mutual aid program, it's all about me being a supporter to you and being an advocate for you and acknowledging and empowering you to do what we ultimately say, live our best life. And so with that, I'm hoping that you find this webinar especially empowering. And so back to you, Danny.
Thanks, Angela. And now I want to pass it to Carrie for a segment that we like to call Care with Carrie. Carrie.
Thank you, Danny. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. And how would you feel, Angela and Danny, about actually putting your screens back on? Because I'm going to share that one thing that's really true for me in self-care is being in relationship. So if that's okay with you, like seeing your faces, I could just feel the difference. And I'm wondering if that's true for other people. Yeah, like just
Okay.
touch your heart there. You know, during these Zoom times, like it's amazing in some ways because we can connect with people all over like that. And yet there's something about the intentionality of that connection that we really need to. We're based in bodies. We're not just based in minds or in voices, and we need to see each other. So thank you for nurturing my presence and being more grounded by seeing you guys. And I know all of us in these kinds of meetings, we sometimes need to step out. So of course, or you know what I mean, to turn off the screen for a second. So I am honored to be with you guys. Can you see my screen just fine? So this is a holiday sampler. You know, you don't have to go buy it. It's free. Some of these tools are available under your nose, under your toes at any minute, And in fact, all of them are. And the more you use them, the more you give them away, the more you get. So play. I'm so excited to play with us. With everybody together. Okay. Sorry. So compassion is our foundation to care. I'm guessing y'all are breathing right now. I know I am. And how often do we not even think about it? Right? We're just breathing. And yet, I invite you to take a couple breaths right now. And this is our little pre-test before we go into our breath resource in a minute. Here, just see how your breath is. Don't even try to change it. Sense if it goes, like makes it to the top of your chest, or your lungs and your ribs kind of tight and they're not even expanded. Do you have any of that abdominal muscle engagement where your breath goes really deep? It's kind of funny as we ask these questions. I don't know about you, but I'm already kind of changing my breath a little bit. So we've just changed the nature of our very being by bringing this thing on called mindfulness. So basically this whole hour is going to be about being mindful of our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts, our relationships, and how we choose to be in relationship to what you both just talked about, Danny and Angie, and the idea that the stress is not an option. Stress is here. The question is, what do we do with it? And there are many forms of stress. And we got here cultural trauma and personal trauma that is just undoubtable. That anybody who's had any relationship with the quote unquote justice system, but I like to call it the punishment system, is traumatized Trauma means something real simply that's too big to cope with at that time. So if your body can't handle it, your mind can't handle it, your feelings can't handle it because it's too big, then what do? We'll get to that in just a second. But our culture teaches this, and our white dominant culture teaches dominance. And this white supremacy, white body supremacy, you'll hear me mention Resmaa Menakem. He's just a sage, and I really hope you'll dip into his work. But he's really a teacher, a psychotherapist, and trainer, and wisdom source, talking about how we can name this reality and be in relationship with it, not be stuck with it. And so it's just saying the obvious that white bodies have, oh, why am I having some trouble with the tapping? Here we go. White bodies have dominated, and he goes back into the history, at least in our continent since 1691, when white bodies showed up and started to let loose on everybody and the animals, plants, and humans who lived here. And so he calls this a white body supremacy virus. And he changes that from white supremacy, which everybody has a lot of opinions about defending whether or not they're white supremacist, or hesitating maybe to call everybody that, but white body supremacy, no matter your color, as he says, we're all under that influence. I'm just gonna move into, so we're basically establishing the reality of unique forms of being on that, whatever end we're on, of that white body supremacy, whatever color your body navigates this world in. I don't want to attempt to summarize his work. It's very subtle and deep. And it can be spoken about, needs to be spoken about, read about, listened to. So that this other source to me of naming the truth, I would invite you all to check out this video called Step Inside the Circle and the Compassion Projec. So as we're talking about being related to the criminal incarceration system, how do we name the truth of how much pain, as you talked about, Danny, that separation and that touchdown, that indignity, right, of your mother, and seeing your mother and your own personal experience of witnessing that and her personal experience. How do we not be smothered by that, but how do we name it? And how do we let ourselves to let go of some of it and have the dignity that it is not all of us, but we cannot expect to walk in this world and not be touched by suffering daily. The expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss and not be touched by it. This is a realistic expecting to be able to walk through water and not get wet. So what do we do about this? Little bit more where we're establishing the challenge that we're all living with, and then we'll get into some of the resources. A couple more slides right here. So what do we do? All we have at our disposal at first when we're facing challenge is animal survival defenses. Because remember, if it's too overwhelming to cope with, the very definition of trauma, then we're not really coping in that minute. We're just surviving. So what do we have as our animal survival defenses? We have fight, know that in the animal kingdom, flight, run away. We have freeze and be there, not knowing whether it's safe to fight or flee. You see the bunny or the deer in the headlights, they don't want to run, but they are waiting for that second they can. But we know that panic, can all relate to it. And then the flat phenomenon. This is the passive strategy that some of us may cycle through. Depression, or just low energy, low self-esteem, exhaustion. And this posture is actually adaptive. If you think about a possum surviving challenge, they go low, they go flat, they lower their heart rate, they lower their blood pressure, they lower their eyes, and then they're less likely to get killed. And Resmaa talks painfully about the requirement of Black bodies to do that in the world. So there are personal reasons and cultural reasons that these survival defenses get provoked. And I'm in the business as a trauma therapist of normalizing that it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. And if we can name what happened, we can name how it lives in your body, then we can begin to change it. We have more mobility. So the relationship defenses and protections that we also know can come from trauma are just a range of relational difficulties, difficulty trusting, difficulty being close, difficulty being vulnerable. And if you've been finding yourself identifying with some of these, sense again, the huge message here is that you're not alone. This is how animals survive, this is how humans survive. And the more we can come to understand that, we don't have to be smothered by it, as it says here. So how we started off today was grounding in the here and now, because we are first and foremost bodies. We go to our minds sometimes to try to control our bodies and our emotions, but we're really first in our bodies and our feelings. So the way we take control when there's no sense of control is that we can actually, I use the word here, let's take control of our bodies, minds, and hearts, but you can probably imagine I don't really mean control and dominate, I mean make choices. So let's enter into those. So we just did one of settling. And I want to say, whether you're on the phone, you're talking to somebody who's stressed, or you're parenting, or you're a healer in your other capacities, or serving in your community or your church, you can do this anytime with anybody, with any group. And it's crazy fun. When Danny and Angie and I got together last week, we just did it and just sort of giggled, like what a big change it can make. So play with it. You're in conflict with somebody, you're with a kid who's overwhelmed by homework, whatever it is, I promise this shifts your orientation. And Resmaa again talks about this. This is a body lock we get into when we're stressed. We can be in that freeze response. And if we actually engage our muscles, we're signaling to our body, oh, we're not in freeze, we can actually move. And then our bodies begin to feel from the body up, oh, okay, I don't have to freeze. And then it signals something to the brain that can follow, that can begin to relax and settle. So we've done one. Our next one is breathing. Everybody hears about that. We began it today. So there's a magic formula where you double the length of the exhale to the inhale. And you begin to bring online the parasympathetic calm down response. It's natural to everybody. It is what our bodies do. Para means beyond, sympathy means feeling. So beyond feeling, when we get beyond that arousal of the threat, of the fight or flight or freeze response, we can go into the beyond that state where we begin to calm down. So the fun thing is that we can guide our body into that. We don't have to just let it happen to us. Animals, you see my doggy Billy up there. In animals, all animals have this instinct that if they get upset, after they're upset, you know, the lion fights off the threat. All animals have a way that they shake it off afterwards and they release the tension. We humans hold on to it. So let's do something here, or we could play, you know, just invoke this magic of letting you choose to deepen and lengthen your breath. So again, let's do a little assessment, 0 to 10 beforehand. You know, how relaxed are you feeling? 10 is out of your window, not comfortable. 0 is settled, grounded here. Now we're going to do 4 breaths with this formula. Starting out with an exhale, invite you to really let it go. You can even sigh, let it out further than you think. And then when you're ready, breathing in through the nose to the count of 4. Pause at the top. Feel the fullness of this particular breath. Maybe sensing something that wants to soften in the shoulders. And then when we exhale, gently open the mouth and go slowly with your exhale. Not a big splash, but a slow, steady, feeling the abdominal muscles now engaging, releasing all the CO2 we don't need anymore. And now there's more space, so we can breathe in through the nose again. Pausing at the top. It's kind of at this pause, sense where the tension is. Let it be there. And on the exhale, see if you want to release 2% of that tension. Maybe it's from the neck, the jaw. And you're emptying all the way, letting go of that which we don't need, of the CO2, tension, emptying. Now breathing in again through the nose. Pausing at the top, treasuring this oxygen, sensing how it's going to be transported without your effort through your whole body, your crown, your fingertips, your toes, and now ready to release the CO2, letting it go. And anything else that's ready to be let go of, let it go. Let it go. And we got one more, breathing in through the nose. Pausing. Sensing if maybe you want to bring a smile to your forehead, your temples, your belly. And releasing gently through the mouth. Now returning to the pace of your own breath. I invite you to just notice without effort if you feel slightly different. Yeah. I see you're nodding. See if your thoughts feel slowed down just a little bit. Notice if your tension that may have been there is slightly released. Just going to give thanks to this practice. This breath is under our nose. It's free anytime, anywhere. Okay, now we'll make ourselves maybe a little bit uncomfortable with the idea. You're sitting by yourself, wherever you are, but start to move the way your body wants to move. I say uncomfortable because sometimes we just are more used to staying just where we are. And now we're gonna take up a little more space. So I'm beginning to move my body the way it's telling me it wants to move. And just kind of feel in your own space. Yeah, rolling back your shoulders. Rotating your neck. We began to get a feeling of possibly coming out of the freeze response. Remembering that when our eyes are locked on a screen, keep moving if you can. When your eyes are locked on a screen all day, what the signals your body are getting is my eyes are at this, focal length of 1.5 feet maybe. When your eyes are at a focal length of 1.5 feet in the wilderness, it's often a sense of threat, like you've got to be monitoring something closely, under 12 feet, really. If you can let it soften, let your eyes soften, maybe even look to some horizon out the window. It's dark here in Michigan, but see if you can let your trees or the sky somehow catch up. Let your eyes rest there. But that's moving your eyes, right? We moved our necks, shoulders, bodies. And as everybody know, a place where you feel good when you've been dancing, you've been hiking, you can follow somebody else moving, you can create your own movements. So really readily available practice also at any and all times. I love this. So we're fueling ourselves today so that we have the resources to be able to give this away. Again, the more we get, the more we get for ourselves, the more we have to give. And I know all of you who are coming today chosen this, or if you're listening to this later, because there's an intention. There's an intention in you to grow, learn, expand, take in resources. They're good for you. So here's a good one. Also available at all times is touch. Now, there's actually research to support 20-second hug seems to be sort of a magic number. You can go like chest to chest. COVID times, not everybody has somebody. There's some people living alone. And as that painful t-shirt that Danny's wearing says, solitary confinement equals torture. Yeah. However it's imposed upon you, it is torture. And I'd love to have a longer conversation about that. But right now, just acknowledging it. I'm going to grab a pillow behind me. Invite you, if you've got something that you can hug right where you are, let yourself. You can hug your own, but there you go. Just like that slide we just saw. Give yourself a hug. And we're going to hold it for 20, okay? And just feel the pressure of your chest getting a squeeze. And the next time you're with a safe other, let yourself go for 20 seconds. Emily and Amelia Nagoski, there's an interview at the end. I'll give you the link to. Keep hugging. Talk about the magic that happens after 20 seconds and the heart can release. It can just begin to let go. There's research to show really whether you hug a tree, a friend, a beloved, yourself, you actually release this thing called oxytocin. Many of you know this is the love hormone when you see a baby. Yeah, and look, I love what you're doing, Angie. You started stroking. Just feel how that comes naturally. And I'm going to soften my hug. But just take a moment. We're doing this sort of before and after checking. Let's see the effect of that experiment. So we're just sort of letting the oxytocin flow. You know, when you hold a baby, you just can't help it, right? The oxytocin just sort of pours forth. I mean, I'm just feeling the association with it right now. And by the way, our brains are amazing. Whether you imagine it or you do it, your same hormones light up, the same neural pathways light up. So when I'm imagining right now, just holding a baby, holding this pillow, I'm feeling. I hope you are letting that experiment come to you. So there's another one, tapping. So there's a link here, and Angie will share the links to this slide presentation. But tapping, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. The first time I heard of it, I really felt sorry for the person who told me about it. I was like, God, that's kind of desperate. That sounds pretty crazy. But boy, it is the coolest thing. So tapping is basically a technique that can release, like acupressure. If anybody have ever had acupuncture, is based on ancient body wisdom from the Chinese tradition, that we have pressure points or energy points that release or trap qi. This is the basic energy that moves through us. We are a host of electrical impulses. That's what our bodies is a nervous system. And in these electrical impulses, they can be locked, they can be overwhelmed on surge mode, or they can be a slow pace or a steady flow. So we actually have, as this whole holiday sampler is about, the ways to pick up and use these tools that can shift, whether you're in the deluge or the trap state, right? The shutdown, collapse possum, or in that fight animal instinct. Freeze, you're going towards the, frozen, the flight, or you're going for some food or substance that makes you go away from something that's uncomfortable. Tapping is a tool that can bring you to it. So you can lean in and you can talk about it with this acupuncture tool. So I'm just going to do the fastest one round, okay? And then you can research it online, any link you find. You basically state the nature of the problem. So even though I'm feeling stressed right now, I love and accept myself. You say that 3 times, and maybe just try it right now if you want. Tap your karate chop point. Even though I'm feeling stressed, doesn't matter which hand, I love and accept myself. And one more time. Even though I'm feeling stressed, I love and accept myself. It's really good. And now we're going to touch 8 acupuncture points. One is inside of the eyebrow. One is outside. One is under the eye. Those are really close to the eye. There's a lot of nerves around here. One is right under the nose. One's right under the lips. 2, either side of the collarbone, down a little bit, under the arm, 3 or 4 inches, and on top of the head. Again, I felt sorry for the first person who told me about this, and I started hearing about it from everybody. It's a very validated tool. There's a lot of good research for it. And what you do is you name the challenge and you move through and you kind of talk about it while you're tapping these points. Okay, pause, release. Being in your nature, this is our nature, this is nature, it's here. It's here, whether you're at nighttime, daytime, alone, or with others. Like the breath, it's always here. So go outside. And we know we're honoring in this gathering, in this community, that there are people who can't choose to go outside when they want to go outside, or the place they're going to is a gravel, cement jungle, really. So we grieve and we honor and we name that. We also invite and offer, can they go out and find? Can you, when you speak to your loved one, invite them to find some small miracle in a blade of grass or a weed, in a tree maybe high above. It's here for us. We participate in it. We're part of it. We depend on it. And that is part of the crime of our criminal punishment system that separates people from other humans and those loves and hugs, and also from our nature. We belong to nature. So for me, I like to surround myself with some plants when possible. Again, just as I say that, I honor and I'm grateful, because I know that there are brothers and sisters not having access to that. And I know, Danny, you, and I know some of the good people we've been being in family community with that lived for decades without that. And how do we hold that? I mean, how do we hold that imbalance? We honor it and we just keep, here we go. Here we go. So pets, yours, others, videos, they're our little wildlife right in our midst. Domesticated, yeah, but they got just their basic access to nature. So spend your time, indulge, letting yourself talk to, be with, breathe with, connect with your pets. Plants. I love this. Branford Marsalis, he sure knew how to release it. And we're speaking about the reality. We're not hiding it, about the grief of loved ones in our system, our structurally broken system. And we're also saying if we talk about it, maybe we can change it. Maybe we can resource ourselves enough to go forward with the next day, the next fight. All right, belly laughs. I tried to gather some favorite funny pet videos, but it's really better if you find your own. So I invite you, any day, every day, look for people and places, opportunities to belly laugh. And again, that Amelia and Emily Nagoski interview that I'm going to encourage you to listen to, it's got the link at the end. They talk about the difference between that sort of socially appropriate laugh versus the good laugh, you know, where your belly really lets go and you're not trying to make somebody feel good. It's just there. So look for those opportunities. Don't forget to cry too, because that does the same thing. It shakes the ribs, it shakes the belly, it releases the freeze of the emotion. Oh, and this is a one. Emily and Amelia talk about laugh is like this universal language. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what country you're from, where you are, you can find laughter. How about your gratitude practice? Maybe take a moment right now. I meant to actually suggest that people bring a paper. So if you've got a piece of paper, pull it over. I'd hesitate to ask you to bring your phone because you know what can happen right then, right? We get sucked in. So let's just pause and just right now. Notice 3 things you're grateful for. So we looked around the room and found blue things. Look around your room, look inside your heart. Think about your what it is in your life that brings you some taste of beauty, humor, of hope. Maybe it's a song. Brings us on to number 8. So I wasn't sure if I would be in the mood or have the courage to do this, but music is totally my practice. So Danny, you think it's all right if I sing? Okay. I'm going to sing a song that it's come to me a lot. It was written right after the last 2016 election, when a certain shit hit the reality that had already been going on, but it woke up a lot of us. And it's called "We Shall Be Known by the Company We Keep." We'll see. I'm going to see if it comes, because sometimes it moves me so much. And anyway, singing, you got your own. You find your own practice, your own songs, your own playlists. But dance, make your music, and listen deeply. And this is for the community, the people through which I just spent beautiful 8 months meeting Danny. And so this is it. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves unto the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. Yep, music is what gets me through the day. And it's the singing. It's the ventral vagus nerve that sort of vibrates in our hearts when we sing with others or with ourselves, that moves something in us back to that state of connectedness and resonance. So maybe in your own way, because your microphones aren't on, just experiment with a little hum. Just experiment with letting your own hum reverberate in your chest. And invite you, next time you're maybe already doing this while you're cooking, just sing along. Just let it rip. Music really is my spiritual practice. What is yours? What's your community? Who are your people? Where's your natural contact with that connectedness where we're not separate? That connectedness, no matter what the shape of the building is that you practice in, or the words that are spoken. What is it for you? Go to that place so you can be fed, so you can go back out and go be fed and go back out. Meditation is both definitely a spiritual practice, but it's also a mental one. And it is that we're getting more and more tuned in these days. Well, how much you're hearing about it feels like Starbucks to me, like meditation, mindfulness. It's everywhere. So I just put a couple in here. Again, those will be at the end. Guided meditations. And these are from an app on the phone. When you go to these 2 links, it'll show you, but it's called Insight Timer. And there are thousands of meditations there. And when your mind is wandering and you just kind of can't use some of these independently, sometimes we need to hear the voice of another guiding us there. So Skip Jenkins is the mantras and affirmations, and he's got quite a few on Insight Timer. Again, it's a free app. And Energy Cleanse, Sacred Waters, Leal, I'm spaced on her last name right now. It'll come to me in a second. And Tara Brock has tons of free podcasts and guided meditations. She's the one who gives me that meditation of a smile in your chest, a gentle smile in your heart, to sort of shift the state of your being. Just try it right now. It's a meditation in your body. Moving forward here, we're talking about leaning into learning as a step of self-care. And Resma Menacom's learning is where I'm at right now. I am just blown away by his courage. Yeah, Angie's got it. Yes, My Grandmother's Hands is his book, 2017. He talks about white bodies, black and brown bodies, and police bodies, and how we need to have the language at this time to talk about this, or else we're thinking we're alone with it, or else we're thinking it's us versus them, or we're thinking we're not tooled, it's too overwhelming. He says, we got 9 generations, we can do this. We got to start now. So it's kind of a bold enterprise, but we have to create the safe enough container to find the language and words to talk about race. So that may not be your exact learning place, but for you, dip in where you can go deep and learn and expand so that we don't stay in these isolated pockets of what we already know. So we've kind of been expanding, right, from our immediate circumstances of our room, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and our breath and our body, going out into nature. I've got that hug there at the beginning, right? Going out into learning. How do we expand ourselves? And then come back and expand. This is the fluctuation of the world, day and night. Ooh, baby. When we get that wave coming, right? And it doesn't feel like any of these things feel available to us. Think about a time, you know it's there, right? You're either super anxious, super enraged, overwhelmed with the news, overwhelmed with your beloved. Just a second ago, you liked them okay, right? And then they do that one thing, or you get that phone call or text. Let yourself feel it. Feel it. And now I got a question here. I got some humor here. I don't know what slide I put next, so I'm going with it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so lean into it. I was going with the relationship challenge of that storm, right? I'm just going to kind of self-correct. That where I would have gone with that slide is that image of the tsunami coming, that wave coming at you. And I kind of feel it right now in my chest. I'm just going to be honest, like, oh, shoot, I didn't come back and do what I wanted to do right there. So I could just feel it. Resma teaches this and models this. If you listen to his interviews, he talks about, stops whatever he's saying, he just talks about what's happening in his body. And I have to say, right now, it really helped me when I just said that. Like I could have just gone on to a mental trip and tried to teach or say. That's mental. What I needed to do was stop and be with my body. And just to tell you, there was a little surge kind of a little bit of shame or embarrassment. Ooh, I didn't quite get that done the way I wanted to get it done. I wasn't perfect. And now I'm feeling just real with you. And I'd rather be real than be perfect. And that leaning into the body is actually what we can do all the time. It slows things down. It just slowed down me from going off and telling you shit. Like, who wants to hear an idea if I'm not coming from being in my body? Like, who cares? So when we're with a loved one, your child, and you feel like you just lost your temper and you're so embarrassed about it, go re-enter. Go re-enter through your body. Say, I'm sorry, buddy. That's not what I meant to be. That's not what I meant to do. And then my brain just went pop. That tsunami just hit me. It's not about you. That was my body that just got hijacked. Let me come back. Can you give me that hug? Give me that hug, please. And if they hurt, obviously don't force ourselves on somebody. They don't want it right then. Maybe you just get a little pinky touch. It's that connection repair. And I want to mention this to Danny and Angie last week, that it's like the fastest book in the tool in the toolbox for trauma therapists is go to the body, go to the body, go to the body. If a client's getting overwhelmed or flooded, yeah, stay with that and notice that. What's happening in your body with your stomach right now? Yeah, feel that in your stomach. That's just me doing my thing. So I invite you to do that with you. Like next time, right this minute, later tonight, tune into your body. Keep coming back to your body. Okay, so that's what I did, right? I interrupted myself. We're in with our 12 days of self-care, hoping we're going to do more than 12 days and more than one a day. But here we go, the relationship repair. So invite you on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to tune to who am I thankful for and let them know. Who did I just hurt today? Let them know. Who am I concerned about? Reach out, let them know. Don't avoid these hard things. That courage to be vulnerable or to let them share their vulnerability is what's going to make this world go around. We don't do better by protecting and constricting and hiding. We do better by being real. Oh, let's go to this one. Okay. We are all in process. Let's be patient with ourselves and others. We don't need to do any of this perfectly. And our natural progression as human beings, as animals, is the same as the plants. It's to keep growing. It's to keep reaching towards the sun. We don't even have to make it happen. It's like what you said in the beginning, Angie, about this inherent goodness. We don't need to control it. We don't need to make somebody stop drinking right now. Let's let that emerge, that they want to remember that's who I am. I don't have to turn to that sip to make myself okay. I can give myself this hug, or I can go write down how I feel badly rather than I got to go hide from feeling badly. I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to lean into learning something new, lean into a relationship. I'm going to lean into nature, lean into laughter. I'm going to lean into music. Be patient. Whatever you go into, doesn't have to be perfect. What if we did this? One thing per day. What if we did one per hour? What if you set a timer for yourself tonight? So it's almost 6. Do one at 6 after we get off, one at 7, one at 8, and one at 9. How do you think your bedtime would go differently? What if you did it tomorrow when you woke up? You just looked at that list, and maybe there's only 3 that you remember, or maybe Angie's going to send out a link. And if you're listening later and you weren't here tonight and you want the link, say, oh, you can create your own list, generate your own, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, your toolkit. And now we're going to get to our resources here. So many more would love to share, but I hope this is a start. Mentioned all of them already. Oh, the only one I didn't mention is the 5-session e-course that Resma has available on his website. And it's for free. And there's a segment for white bodies, for black bodies, for police bodies, so that we can begin to kind of understand where each other's coming from and get it in the body and really feel it. It's not neat. It's not clean. It's not easy. It's not a formula. All right, I'm going to stop talking. I'm so thankful to be with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for your presentation, for all of your tips, for your 12 steps of self-care. If anyone would like a copy of these slides, please feel free to reach out to Angela Amison at aamison@afsc.org. That's AAMISON @afsc.org. And now we like to move into our question and answer portion of the webinar. Our first question is, how do I recognize when someone is in need of the tools you speak of?
That's a really
and I'm in, and this is, of course, to both you and Angela. So yeah, that is a good question. How do you recognize when someone is in need of the tools that you speak of?
Angie, you want to jump in first?
Well, I'll jump in first, just as a mutual aid coordinator and working as a non-clinician and in embodying harm reduction. I would say that first, if you believe that you recognize this, you will want to check with the person. You want to know, do they recognize this as a need for them as well? Because we never want to be in a system or in a relationship where it is one-sided, and you want to empower people to have trust with you and to know that your concern is genuine and that it is coming from a place that is centered with them, truly in mind. And so I would first say, if you believe that you recognize that your loved one may need care or can benefit from these practices, I would first invite you to really work with them, ask them, see how they're doing, see how they perceive what you're perceiving, and dialogue with someone and allow them to have an open and honest space with you where you can share these things.
That's beautiful. I think that just stands on its own. I don't think there's anything to add.
Okay. Another question that we have is, how do we share these tools in meaningful ways with our loved ones currently incarcerated?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good one. Well, I've got an idea or two, and I'd love to hear what both of you have to say, honestly. The sound of the human voice. I know we talked about the power of seeing you guys and the sort of the loss that I feel when I can't see and connect in that way. We got to honor that that's right, a part of the loss for people on the inside, and to name that grief as often as we need to. Name, instead of leaning in, and then say, even in this limited offering, even though we can't give everything we want, can we do some of this together? Here's something I learned. And so I like what you said, Angie, so much about making it two-way, because who wants to be preached at, right? If you're not in the space, you're shut down, you're the possum, you don't want to hear from somebody right now. And we can just allow them to be there, but also kind of gently make contact with that's where they are. And you maybe even say, could we try something together that I learned? And this may sound really silly, you can say to them, this may sound really silly, but I was just in this workshop the other day and I learned this ridiculous exercise. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It sounds so silly, so simple. Can we just do it together? Or the hugging one. Like, let's try this together. Let's just really feel, I wish this were my hands touching you right now. And again, what we're talking about, the power of imagination, our bodies can take in the neural pathways of touch and communicate that to our loved ones. So honestly, invite that embodiment, speak it. I would say the same with the breath. Let's breathe together so that we are resourcing, in addition to chatting about whatever they want to talk about, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to share, you're getting in the body when you do it. I think I'll pause there, but I'd say as many of them as possible. Try to walk them through and do it together so that they can lean into learning with you, because they couldn't be here because of this ridiculous restriction on the internet. There's so many restrictions, right? So, and share with them the laughter.
Yes, and then on the practical end, again, Carrie and Danny both, you know, told you all about this. You can definitely email me for these slides and send it in to your loved ones, or snap and send if you're on JPay, some of these slides and some of these, you know, some of this material as like just a working guide, something to that even may be shareable even outside of you all's conversation.
Mm.
Thank you, Angela and Carrie. I hope that answered both questions well. We have one last question, which I think already was summed up, but the question is, can I connect you all to someone who is reaching out for help, but I don't know how to help them? So I think they're asking for like contact information from both you, Carrie, and Angela in regards to connecting you with someone who may need support. So if you could please do so, just shout out your contact info, if it's phone number or email address that a person could reach out to you.
Yeah, I'm putting mine in the chat, but I'm aware that not everybody will see this at that time. So if they see it later, but mine is ChatcherKay@gmail.com. It's ChatcherKay@gmail. And then I'll put my phone number in there. 734-730-3952.
And then I'm just going to use this time to also just sum up that, again, the mutual aid program is connected with AFSC. We're in the heart of Ypsilanti by the transit station at 124 Pearl Street, Suite 607, Ypsilanti, Michigan, 48197. And my work phone, Monday through Friday, 9 to really 9, but 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. You can call me at any time during my office hours, and it's at 517-225-9295. And again, I give aid and support to all folks that have are returned home from Michigan prisons and jails that use drugs. So just reach out, I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you both, Angela and Carrie. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. And please save the date for our third installment of our mutual aid program webinar series, which is goal planning, motivation, and community building, January 20th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Thank you again for joining us. Happy holidays to you all. Happy New Year. Be safe, be well. Peace and love.